Professor Dyer here, talking about research in human development and family science. And we are still talking about this thing we call science, this process, this tool that we use. Last time we talked about systematic empiricism, the principle of systematic empiricism, which shapes sampling and measurement in scientific studies. Now let's talk about the concept of falsifiability. This is the principle that shapes and controls how scientists design their studies. Why do we need it in the first place? Well, if you remember, humans are prone to confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to see evidence that confirms the position that you hold already. We see things that verify that we're correct. We like that. We like to find reasons to think we're right. And we tend to dismiss evidence that contradicts us. We tend to ignore it, we don't see it, or if we see it, we dismiss it. So that's confirmation bias, and it is such a strong tendency among humans that science has to be constructed almost entirely and completely to counteract our tendency to confirmation bias. What I mean by that is scientific studies are designed in order to look for evidence that the scientist is wrong, to disconfirm what they think, to look for falsifying evidence. That's how the whole system is set up. This is uncomfortable. This is not the way most human beings go through their lives, and to think scientifically requires this huge shift in the way a person approaches knowing about the world. Students often find this really disorienting because it seems so backwards. It feels backwards because it is drastically different from the way we think about our lives most of the time. It turns out that disconfirming evidence often gives us more information than confirming evidence. Disconfirming evidence is uncomfortable. Nobody likes to find out that they're wrong about something. But I want to comment here that science is fundamentally a creative and almost revolutionary force in society. When society moves forward in terms of making progress in knowledge, it's because of disconfirmation. It makes us think about things differently, and we progress in our knowledge more from the uncomfortable experience of disconfirmation than we do from the very comfortable experience of confirmation. So science is intentionally trying to create these experiences of disconfirmation because that is how we learn and grow. Let's return to this example, your baby can read. If we wanted to find out if that was true, we would create a study. We would, of course, use the measurement and sampling strategies that we talked about last time. That's part of systematic empiricism. But in order to be falsifiable, the scientific study would have to include a couple of things that could prove this Dr. Titzer wrong. For instance, one of the ways we would structure an empirical study is to have a comparison group. He used his own 2 children when he created this program. The program essentially consists of videos where they're shown a word and then they're shown a picture of the word. And they watch them over and over and over again. And in my mind, they memorize what the letters represent. But he thinks they're reading. If we were going to test this, we would need a comparison group. We'd have to have some children who went through this program, who had these videos at home, who were supposedly learning how to read. And we would expect that they would show more advanced reading skills than would a comparison group of infants the same age who had not been exposed to his videos. So the first thing you'd have to do is structure it with a comparison group. And then the second thing you'd have to do, in the interest of falsifiability, is you'd have to test for alternative explanations for why it appears that the kids who use his videos are reading. I have some ideas, having worked in childcare before. A lot of the kids in a child care center or in a home have access to the same book day after day after day after day. And I've sat with babies and turned pages that they have clearly memorized. They know what's happening on the next page, and so they might even read the words out loud or say the words out loud. I don't think they're actually reading them. I think they've memorized what words go along with which pictures, and so they've memorized something. I think that's what's happening. If we were going to test his program, can this program actually teach babies to read? We would have to test them with words that are not included on the video. That would be an alternative explanation, is that they've simply memorized the words in the video, not that they're actually reading. And so when I would test them, I would use novel words. And that way, if he's wrong about the reading, it will become apparent. That is falsifiability.